Okay, so picture the scene. It's 1960s London. We're in Abbey Road Studios, and the Beatles are in the process of making Strawberry Fields Forever. Now, the Beatles had this rule, right? And when making the song, the person who instigated the song, who had ran the first draft, who kind of created it and brought it to others, is the playmaker, the shot caller, the project manager. It's their song. They're the key decision maker. They get to decide what goes in, what goes out, right? And so John is key decision maker on this particular song, right? And in the process of making the song, he wanted to try out a few different options. One of the options for the background noise is that he wanted trumpets and cello, right? And another option is that he wanted these kind of Eastern music, psychedelic sounding instruments and tones and music, right? And so it comes the time where John has to make a decision, right? He has to pick option one or option two, right? That the song cannot progress until John has made a decision. They've It's all come to a halting stop, waiting for John to make a decision. And John balks. John crumbles at the challenge. John can't take picking one or the other, and so he walks away, right? And eventually it falls to George Martin to decide how to solve this problem, right? And in a pretty cool, ingenious way of problem solving, George Martin blends the two different options to create the final version that you hear today. But it goes to show that John Lennon was not perfect, that he had this indecision in this particular instance, right? That he couldn't pick an option. All he has to do is pick one of the two, and he couldn't pick one. Okay, example number two. Steven Spielberg bought the rights from the estate of Martin Luther King Jr. to make a film about Martin Luther King Jr. Right? He bought the rights in 2009. Now, it's been 13, almost 14 years, and no progress has been made on this film. Now, you might say that, oh, well, maybe Steven Spielberg has retired from filmmaking, but that's not true because since 2009, Steven Spielberg has made Ready Player One, A Bridge of Spies, West Side Story, and other films. Lincoln is another one. And so, how come Steven Spielberg has been sitting on this project? He clearly had a desire to make the film, otherwise, he wouldn't have bought the rights. But he hasn't done anything about it. He hasn't even developed a script. He hasn't done the early stages of developing the movie. And I think, if I'm to guess, right, what happened is that since Martin Luther King Jr. is such a big figure in American history, that a film made by Steven Spielberg would attract a lot of scrutiny. And with a lot of scrutiny, inevitably comes criticism, right? And potentially why he keeps putting it on the long finger or kicking the can down the road is because a bit of fear of failure might have crept in. And so he's hesitant to do that shitty first draft because it will feel shitty, right? And then maybe he feels the pressure that this has to be a good film. And so he's hesitating. Right. Third example, Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre spent 11 years making an album called Detox. 11 years, and he didn't publish it. Instead, he shelved it. He took it away. He wasn't giving it to the public. He put it in mothballs. He put it in his attic. That's it. Can you imagine spending 11 years on something and then eventually deciding, no, I'm not going to publish it. I'm just going to shelve it. 11 years. And what I think happened here was something similar in that fear of failure crept in. A little bit of doubt, or maybe a little bit of hesitation, or maybe he felt that, oh, this is not going to be a guaranteed hit, or he could feel that it was a very real possibility that the public weren't going to like it. And so he decided do the safer option and shelve it, right? Never let the public see it. And so the reason why I bring up these three examples is because I realize that you, as a creative, watching this, you might have a voice in your head that's telling you you need to be more decisive, you need to overcome your fear of failure to be better. And whilst these are true, you don't need to be completely impervious at the same time. You don't need to be godlike because these greats, John Lennon, Steven Spielberg, Dr. Dre, have all shown, hesitation, indecision, indecisiveness, fear of failure. So you don't need to be perfect to be good. You don't need to be perfect to be started. I hope that helps. I hope that helps address the inner critic in your head. All the best.